Hi, and welcome to another class with React. Today I'm going to see how to make a to-do app with Redux as the state management. So I'm going to begin right away, and I'm going to erase this default file that are useless for now. My app has broke, but here I'm going to erase this and erase this logo, and I'm going to put here an h1 tag that says to do app with Redux, and I go to save, Control S. Okay, so to begin with everything, I'm going to install some dependencies. For example, I'm going to install and put npm install Redux and React Redux, and let's wait. Okay, cool. Now that it has installed, we're going to also install something that will help us with the CSS, with making the UI more attractive. I'm going to install Material UI Core Material UI Icons. Okay, let's wait for that. Okay, cool. Now we have everything installed. So I'm going to begin with the app. So here I'm going to put an input component and a list component, and the list component will have its own to do component. So here I'm going to put input to do, here to do list, and I will create them. Input to do and to do list. Okay, the to do, you can use this snippet RFCE to make a functional component very easy. So here I'm going to write no, I'm going to make the input. I'm going to make it a form so it can be better for us. Okay, here is input, and here is type text, and I'm going to put it a placeholder called a to do, and here I'm going to put a button with type submit and add to do. And okay, that's it. And in the to-do list, I'm going to also write RFC, and here I'm going to just make an h2 called list of to-dos, for example. Okay, and here I'm going to import them. Just erase the last letter and it will auto import. Okay, I'm going to save, and here I'm going to see my input and my list. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to create our Redux state management. I'm going to create the store where our state is going to live. I'm going here and I'm going to put store.js. To create a store, you have to import a function called create a store, and that's from Redux. Let's see here that create a store creates a Redux store that holds the state tree. The only way to change the data from in the store is to call dispatch on it. So you know now that when So in the store lives all the state, and to access it or to change it, you have to to dispatch some action, some call. That there should be only a single store in your app. So there is only one store, one single source of truth. So then I'm going to create my store. I'm going to put const store, and I'm going to create it just like this. And here I'm going to put like this. This needs an initial state, and it needs the reducer. And here you can put the middleware, so you can use Redux DevTools extensions. So I'm going to search it. This is like an interface in your navigator, just like that allows you to see more clearly what what is going on with your state management. Here you can put it like this. You can copy this and you can paste it here. Okay, so now we will have this middleware that, and you can visualize your data and how Redux is managing your data. Okay. Here I'm going to export default store. So we're going to need a reducer, no? So I'm going to need also initial state. I'm going to put here initial state just as an empty value, and I'm going to declare my reducer. I'm going to put here a file called reducers, and here I'm going to put index. Index is where all the reducers are, because you can have a lot of them, but to declare a reducer you can put here const, and you can put it reducer. You can name it whatever you want. You can put it to do reducer or something like that, but in lowercase. Okay, but I'm going to put it just const reducer because it's going to be one. If you have several reducers, you can use import combine reducers, so you can put it into one reducer. But we are not going to see this for now. Okay, reducer, and here it receives, it has these parameters, the state. So you can declare here the state of this reducer that is going to be in the store, and here you have the actions that will control our state. For example, when you add todo, that's an action that will go into this reducer, and it will see what it will do with this action. Okay, then here you can use switch to see what action type you are going to make. For example, you can add to do, you can get the list of to-dos, you can delete to do. That's the type, and it's going to be like an object to dispatch here. Okay, for example, I'm going to, for the case you're going to add a to-do, you're going to return something. I will leave this for now, and here I'm going to put like a default. So when it's default, it just will return the state. Yes, let's do this export default reducer. So now we can call it here, import reducer from reducers, and because it's in the index, you don't have to put anymore. It will go straight to the index of reducers. Okay, so now I'm going to save, and I think everything is working fine. To see our Redux DevTools extension, we're going into the console. You can put it F12. Here you have to install the extension of Google Chrome, so you can seek it, Redux Dev extension, and here you can download it. Yes, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to go into my Redux. Okay, this will be our DevTools extension. So let's continue to, this is the store. So here I'm going to go into, to wrap our app, you have to go here, and what you will do is this: import provider. So you have to provide your app of this state management, and you will need the store. And for example, you can put it here, provider, and you have to wrap all your app, and you will pass all that data as a prop called store, just like this. But here we have not defined add, so I'm going to erase this for now. But I will control my state from the reducer, so I will erase this, and I'm going to save. You can see here Redux has begin. You can know it because here it says init. That's when Redux is implemented into your app and is working fine. Here you can see the state. Here the state is undefined. But if we go here into the reducer and put like an initial state, for example, initial state, or here, and you can put an state of to-dos that are an empty array, and you can see now here that it knows that the initial state is a to-dos list, but for now it's an empty array. So here you can control all the state. Cool. Now that we have here our state, we can control by making actions. I'm going to make another folder called actions, and here I'm going to make two files called types.jx and to do actions, for example. Why am I going to make this? You're going to see here, because for example, when I want to add a to do, I have to dispatch an action. So I'm going to make here the actions that will control this functionality. Okay, here I'm going to put sport const, and I'm going to name my add to do. No, so here I'm going to add to do action, and it will take add to do, and here it is like this, and here it is like this. It's going to take an object, and this object will have a type called for example, add to do, add to do. But here, to 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 prevent some typo here, because you don't want to have this, for example, or to do. So you don't want this, so you have to make this into constants. For example, export const add to do, so it will never get a typo, just like this. But you have to import this into the action, add to do, and types. Okay, so now you can use this constant add to do, and this is going to pass some data into the reducer, so it can do something with that. And this data is called payload, and that data is just this to do. So this is going into this reducer, and in case it is this add to do action, it will do this. It's going to take all the state so it doesn't overwrite, and it's going to modify this state. So now the state is going to be so because this is an array, you're going to grab all the previous state and you're going to push the payload that is this to do that you are passing. But you will need to import also this type action, and that is in our actions and types. Okay, in the actions you have to declare the object that you're going to dispatch into this reducer, and this is going to see what type of action you have passed. You have fire, and it will do whatever you have dispatched. For example, it can be delete to do, and it's going to make that into the app, and it's going to change the state. Okay, now let's see if this is working. Let's add a to do. So I'm going to go here into my app, into my input to do, and here I'm going to have to control first my state. Here I'm going to put like name, set name, use state. So what I am writing here is, it will be called name of the to do. I'm going to import here use state, and here I'm going to link my input with this state, and to see if to grab the value of this, of what I write here into this state, I'm going to use this event, and what I'm going to do is to take the target value, that is what I write here. Okay, to see if everything is working fine, I'm going to put here, I'm going to console log the name, and you can write here, and it's working fine. You can see it here that it grabs this state, what I write here. Okay, so now what we are going to do is to see when I submit this, you have to put here on submit. You can put it handle submit, and I'm going to see what my handle submit does. It's going to take the event, and to prevent that the page refreshes just like this, I don't want this, so I will put here prevent default, and so as I said, when you submit here, you're going to dispatch an action, and that action is going into the reducer, and it will make the state change. So now it can be saved into your state, and it will appear here. I'm going to, so to do that, you have to use this hook to dispatch. It's called use dispatch, and that is from React Redux. To call this function here, I'm going to save it into a constant called dispatch, and you're going to put this. For example, here it says a hook to access the Redux dispatch function. So to dispatch an action, you're going to do this dispatch, and here you're going to put the action you want to dispatch, that is a to do. Okay, but you will need this action that you have declared here. I'm going to import it from actions. Okay, cool. Now we can use it to do action, but as you have seen here, it has to receive this object, this to do, and this object will be what we right here. So it's going to have a name, that is the name I have wrote here, and also it will have an ID. Sorry, and it will also have an ID. For that, I'm going to put it with this little trick that will give us a string of number that is unique, because it takes the present moment. So cool. Now we have our object. When we right here and use submit, it will dispatch this action that has this object, and then it's going just like this, and is dispatching this type of action into the reducer, and it is going to push our to do, that is our action payload, into this array of to-dos. Now I want to see if this is working fine. Okay, you have to save, and you can go into your DevTools extension, and so here what I write here, and when I submit here, it has to appear the action I am dispatching, that is a to do action, and it has the type. So here it's going to appear the type, and here in my state it will have to appear that now it has the to do I am submitting here. Now let's see if this is working. I'm going to study React, so let's see. Okay, it has appeared that the type, and here in the to-dos there is an element that is just what I wrote here, that is called study React, and it has an ID of the moment I submit it. Okay, now it has worked just fine, But here, when I submit, I want to reset this because I don't want this to appear anymore. So I will go into my to do input, and here before the dispatching, I'm going to set my name again into blank, into a null string. Let's try again. And cut my hair, go to the gym, and yes, it has dispatched this action called add to do, and this object has been saved into the state of my store, and it has cleaned up after I submit it. Okay, so cool. Now I will want to see my list of to-dos here, so I will have to make a dispatch action called get to-dos, and see how we can bring the state from the store here. Okay, let's go into the actions, so I can first I'm going to declare my action type called get to dos. And here I'm going into the actions, and I'm going to copy this because the actions are very similar, but this is going to be named get to dos, and it won't take any parameter. The type is going to be called now get to dos, as I have established. I have to put it here. Okay, and because it doesn't pass any data, you put it like this, just like this. So okay, now I'm going into my reducer, so to see what it does with this request, with this dispatch request. So I'm going to put here get to dos, and well, it has already imported, and you will do this. You will give me all the to dos that are the state, are the to dos of the state, just like this. So you're when you uh, request to get all the to dos of the list, you will receive these to dos. So my to dos is going to be all the to dos of the state, and to see them, we're going into the to do list, and to take the state from the store, you're going to use something called use selector. That is from React Redux, and to use it, you have to do this use selector. Okay, here's a little snippet where you can see how it is used. So our state we want to take from the reducer is called, for example, to dos. It grabs the state, and it will give me the state I want. So I want the state to dos. Now I can list my to dos, but before that I have to request this get to dos. So here I have to use effect, the use effect hook, and I have to put this into empty because this happens when the app is being rendered. So here is use effect, and I have to dispatch, so I will have to need my use dispatch, and here I also have to call it dispatch use dispatch, and here I have to dispatch, and my action is get to do's action, but I have to import it. Yes, just like that. So here when I will dispatch this action that I made here. It will go into the reducer with this type here, and it's going to save these to do's into this constant. So to make them be here, I'm going to see them here. I'm going into the to-do list, and I have bring the state like this with uselector, and I went into the reducer, and I save this state here. Okay. But here I have missed this to don't override the state. Okay. To-dos, and you're going to map the to-do, and to see if this is working fine, I'm just simply going to put a PHTML, and I'm going to get the name of the to-do, and I'm going to see if this is working. Yes. So whenever I render this app, it will straightly go in dispatch this get to do's, because that's what I have made here. So I'm going to see, cut the grass, and yes, it is working fine. So whenever I submit, it adds and it gets all that to do, because here I am, whenever the app is rendered, is dispatching this get to do's. So cool. I'm going to put here another. Okay, cool. So everything is working fine. But here I want to make a component for this. I want to do, here's going to be an error because I have not made this component yet. Okay, to do, yes, RACE, and here I want to pass this data as props. Okay. Okay, so here we have to put our PH and print our to do. So here I think it's working fine, and I put here a static React, and I submit it. Yes, it's printed here. So here I will have to use a key to identify my every to do. It has to be unique, and with this to do ID, everything is fine. Okay, so now that we have done that, I will want to make a button to delete it. So now let's go into this to do. It will also have a button, and it will be delete. And whenever you unclick, it will fire this function, maybe called delete to do, and it's going to grab the ID, and it will have to declare it. Const delete to do, and it grabs the ID I have passed. This can be named whatever you want, because now it knows it is this specific ID of this to do. And here I will have to dispatch an action that maybe is called delete to do, delete to do action, and it will take this ID. This is going to be just like the logic, and here you will have to import this action. I am making this like backwards, so you can understand it in that way. Actions and to do action. I'm not going to save, so you can so the app doesn't break. And here I will go into my types, and I'm going to make this delete to do and this delete to do. Okay, now I'm going to import this into my to do actions, and here I'm going to make this another action called delete to do action, because that's what we have called it here into my to do. Yes, delete to do action. I'm going to copy to be precisely. Yes, it's the same, but I'm going to paste it. Okay, and it takes an ID as a payload, as we have seen. Now the payload is the ID. I'm going to save, and so this dispatch object is going into our reducer. So I have here to also call this action, and here I'm going to put the case when you dispatch a delete to do action and return. So the state is staying, it doesn't override, and now our to-dos is going to be like this. It's going to grab all the state to-dos, and you're going to filter, and it's going to grab just the to-dos that follows this condition, that are different from the ID I am passing in the payload. So this ID is going to be the action payload, because that has what I have passed. So once again, you have to, when you have to delete, it will take all these to-dos, and it's going to filter, so it will remain with all the to-dos that are different from the ID I am passing. Let's see if this is working. I'm going to, so to make this working, I have to import use dispatch as I did before from Redux, and you have to put here const dispatch use dispatch. Okay, now we can dispatch use sorry. Okay, now let's see if this is working. Study React, go to the gym. Let's see if this is working. Let's go into our Redux. No, this is not working. Let's see why. Let's see why. Okay. You're taking this to do, you're passing this, you're dispatching this to do option. So let's go into here and delete to do action. So here is delete to do. Sorry. Okay, now it's going to work. Study React. Go to the gym. And I'm going to see if this is working. Okay, this is working fine. It has dispatched this action and it has been eliminated from the state of the store. So cool. I can delete this too. It is working great. So now let's see if we can put this a little more fancy. Let's implement material UI so it can look fine. Okay, let's close this just a moment and let's go into our okay, let's put this a little more elegant. So I will enter here so I can see. Here I can use paper. Maybe we can use paper to make that. So here it is paper. I'm going to put here paper. And I'm going to import this component from material UI. And let's see how this is looking. Okay, now it is a paper, but here you have this like class called elevation. I'm going to copy and paste it here. Now let's see, study. Now it looks a little more cool. But here we will have to put this into flex display, so I can do this. Maybe put all of this into a div, or no. Let's put here a class name called paper to do paper. And here we can do an CSS file and we're going to import it here just like this. Okay, now because we have a to do paper, we can put it display flex and let's see what happens. Study. Okay, now it is in line, so we can put this, justify content, put center, and align items center. Let's see. Okay, now now we can do this. We can put here, so this now can be list item text, list item text, and you have to import it. Okay, and here the button can be a button from Material UI. Well, now let's see. Okay, cool. But it also can be like an icon. Let, let's see your icons, and you can search here, delete, and you can put it here, import, delete. And instead of a button, you can use this icon. But you no longer need this, just like this. Oh, now let's see. Okay, now it has this little icon. Okay, we can also put like an edit icon. This, we're going to use this, and let's import it here, and let's do something like this. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to paste it, and here it will be edit icon, and here edit icon. No, okay, that's it. And now, yes, now we have this, but I prefer to have it first, in order. Okay, cool. Now let's do something with this. To do, let's go into the input, and here I'm going to use the input from Material UI, and here the button from Material UI. But let's import it. Okay, let's see now. Okay, now it looks a little more better, but we can go into the button Material UI and use some style. We can put it like this, secondary variant, secondary, so it can look a little more pretty. Let's see. Okay, we can just put it at, okay, study React, and you go here, but we can put like a background here into the index. We go into the index, and we can put it a color, a background color, and it can be like something like this, maybe. Let's see, but color white. Okay, it doesn't look good. More gray, maybe. Okay, let's stay right there. Okay, let's stay right there. Now let's put some margin here between to-dos. So I'm going to here, and every paper will have a margin button of 20 pixels. Now we're going to see how we can edit this. I'm going just like this, edit, and to edit we're going to need two actions. One to save the edit you want to edit, and one to save the change to do. We're going to put here, so whenever you put edit to do, you're going to dispatch this edit to do, and I'm going to dispatch maybe editing to do action, and I'm going to pass better a to do, the whole to do. So because you are grabbing all the to do to be printed here with, and you also want the ID, so it breaks because here we don't have this action, and we have to declare it in our first in our types, export const editing to do, and we're going into our actions. You put here editing to do, and I'm going to declare my editing to do action. It takes all that to do. Here is editing to do, and here is to do, and now we're going into our reducer, and here we need editing to do, and then I'm going here in when the case is editing to do, and I'm going to return. So for that you're going to need another state here, state here called maybe editing to do. It's going to be an empty object, and you're grabbing all the state, and here my editing to do is going to be now my action payload. I am saving in this state now that to do I want to edit. Let's save. Here I have to save also. Here it is like this. Okay. So let's see if this is working. I'm going into my console and into my Redux, and so it has add this, it has get, and whenever I put edit, it will have to fire this editing to do action. And here, okay, I'm going to my state. Now my state, as I declare it here, now it has this state, an empty object, and whenever I put editing to do, here is going to appear the action editing to do, and here is going to be saved this specific to do. Let's see if this is working. Okay, I have to put here, I have confused. This is this is like this. Okay, sorry for that. Start React now. Okay, when I do this, going to fire editing to do, and it will save in the editing to do this. But we have okay, here. Okay, cool. It has worked fine. Now we want to, whenever we click here, I want this name to be printed here so I can edit it. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's declare another action type called edit to do. This is when you will edit that to do. Okay, here I need this, and I will go here. I will go here and put edit to do. I'm going to make my action. So I'm going here to put edit to do, and here I'm going to receive my new name, an ID that is going to be the same ID I am editing. So here you can do this, maybe just put name and ID. Okay, so but before that I will have to, okay, here is, I can name my to do action like this, edit to do action, and I can put it here, edit to action. But before all of that, I want to see whenever I click this, I want to see this name here. So for that, we're going to use effect. And I'm going into my to do input. And here I will need this state, this editing to do state, to be printed here. The name here. Okay, so we are going to need the use selector now. Okay, here I'm going to put maybe editing to do use selector state, and I'm going into the editing to do state. Okay, cool. Now I have to use my use effect hook to fill this input with this to do. Okay, use effect is an arrow function, and it renders when I click here. So this is whenever there is an editing to do. So you can say whenever, if there is an editing to do, you're going to bring me all this editing to do, and you're going to paste it here. So you have to put set name, and you have to grab this object editing to do. Here is editing to do. Here is editing to do, and you have to give me, you have to print here the name. Okay, let's see if this is working. Started React Redux, and now when I click this, let's see. Okay, now because of this use effect, whenever there is an editing to do here, the one I call, it is printed here, so I can edit it now. Okay, so now we can edit it. So when I put here, for example, I change it, and I submit it back, it's going to be rendered here with the same ID. So to do that, I'm going to go here. Whenever I submit, it's going to dispatch another action. So this dispatch is when there is no editing to do, but when there is one editing to do, we're going to dispatch this edit to do action. Yes, you're going to let's go here, this edit to do action. You're going to use this now when there is an editing object. Okay, let's close this and let's go here. We will need this action here. I'm going to bring it here also. Okay, and as I said, it will need now, as I put here, it will need a name and an ID. The name will be the new name I am typing here, so it's the same. And here the ID, it will have to be the editing to do ID. Yes. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to save it, and I have declared it here, edit to do action, so everything is fine. Okay, I am passing the name and the ID into the reducer. Okay, cool. Now we have to see the case when it is edit to do. I have, okay, here I needed edit to do. Okay, let's see what the reducer is going to do when you are dispatching this action. Okay, state, we're going to make this. Whenever I submit it back, it will take, now that to-dos will be like this. It's going to take the to-dos and we're going to map. So whenever it's mapped, it says it will go into all the actions, and it will take it will go into all the to-dos, and it's going to make this. So if the to-do ID is equal to the action ID I am passing here, that I have put here, okay, if this is true, then what you will do is you will return me this, all the to do, and you will give me this name just like the action name, and the ID as the action ID. Cool. Here. Okay. Cool. And if this is not happening, so if not else, you will just give me the to do as it is. Okay, this is the logic behind all. Now let's see if this is working. Let's add a to do. Let's add some more. So here, when I edit and I put here Redux and I submit it back, let's see if everything is fine. Okay, here I will have to put else here. But sorry, this has to be here. Okay. So whenever there is, if there is an editing to do, is because I have clicked here, and if this is the case, when you are submitting here, it's going to dispatch this action, and if there is no editing to do, it's going to just add that to do. So I think everything is fine. Let's okay, so here it is not like this. This is, you have to just put the parameters you want to pass, and that is just the name, and the ID will be this editing to do. So now I'm going to save and see if this is working. Study. Okay, I had an error, and this says a component is changing and a control input of type test to be uncontrolled. So here, if you change this into null, now it doesn't take this as a uncontrolled input. Now we're going to see, and when we submit, now it works fine. Then when we edit, and here I set React hooks, it goes back into this to do. So everything is working fine. Cool. Okay, so now I have occurred to me to put one more feature, that is to check if this is done, it is going to have like a line through to tell if this is completed. So I'm going to go to the to do component, and here I will put another. Here I will put an input. Let's see if this works. Input type checkbox, and let's see if this is working. So no, this is not working. So I'm going to put a simple input. Okay. Now, if this is checked, it's because this task is completed. So what I'm going to do is put here, just like almost like this. It's like this. I'm going to put here an input, and on click event, and I'm going to put here toggle to do, and I'm going to take the to do ID, because I just want the ID to identify I am toggling this task. Okay, so it will break because here I have to put toggle to do, take the ID as the parameter, and here I have to dispatch an action, and it's almost just the same. You have seen like a little pattern here. I'm going to put here toggle to do action. I'm going to take the ID. Here I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to make like I am importing it, and here I have to declare it just like we did here. Export const, it takes an ID, and here type, I'm going to call it toggle to do, and pass the payload as the ID. So this is not declared yet, so I'm going into the input, and I'm going to declare it. Okay, now I am going to import this here, toggle to do. Now it is going to work, but just a little more step. I want to go into my reducer and put here toggle to do, and I'm going to put the case when it's toggle to do. And what I'm going to do is something like this. It's just almost like editing, because you have to grab the same ID. I'm going to copy and put some changes and make some changes. Okay, here, because I am passing the payload as ID. This is ID. This is action payload, and to do. And the only thing I want to change is the completed attribute of the state. I will just toggle, so this is the opposite, and I think that's it. So here I will go into my to do, and what I'm going to do is go here, go here into my list item, and I'm going to do this style, and this is a text decoration. So I will say if to do completed is true, then my class will be line through. So let's see it. Okay, see, this is working, but it's not toggling. It's because, okay, here it is to do completed. Now whenever we put here, it will toggle. Okay, now it works absolutely fine, and it has all the functionality of a CRUD. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have learned a lot. Thanks.